And Secretary of State Marco Rubio says a deal with Iran is still possible despite new attacks by the U.S. Central Command called them self-defense strikes. And the Trump administration is maintaining an optimistic tone about peace talks. For more on the situation in the Middle East, we're joined by CBS News senior foreign correspondent Imtiaz Tyab in Tel Aviv. Imtiaz, what can you tell us about this latest escalation?
Michael, good morning. Well, listen, it's a very alarming situation with those U.S. strikes overnight threatening an already fragile ceasefire that began all the way back in April and triggered weeks of intense diplomacy between Washington and Tehran that really did seem to be heading towards some kind of an agreement to end the war. An agreement that may now be in jeopardy.
The Strait of Hormuz has been a front line since fighting began. Both the U.S. and Iran have imposed dueling blockades there, sending global energy prices soaring. And despite intensive talks to end the war, U.S. forces carried out strikes in southern Iran overnight. In a statement to CBS News from CENTCOM, it said targets included missile launch sites and Iranian boats attempting to emplace mines. U.S. Central Command continues to defend our forces while using restraint during the ongoing ceasefire. For the U.S., it seems the ceasefire still holds. But the strikes were carried out as Iranian leaders met with Qatari officials in the capital Doha for what's been described as, quote, intense U.S.-backed talks over Iran's frozen assets, nuclear program, and the Strait. But it's Lebanon that's also further complicating matters. Despite a ceasefire there, too, Israeli forces and Hezbollah continue to trade fire. Tehran insists Israel's war with its proxy group must end as part of any deal with the U.S. Dennis Citrinowicz is the former head of the Iran branch of Israel's military intelligence.
If President Trump will decide to reach an agreement, Israel will be the last country that will oppose it. Prime Minister Netanyahu is highly dependent on President Trump. And even more than that, he's, I think, afraid even that he will do something that contradicts President Trump's policy. Then Israel and himself will pay the price for it.
And this morning, Iran's Revolutionary Guard said it would not only retaliate against any ceasefire violations, but that it would also, or rather that it also shot down a U.S. drone and fired at a U.S. fighter jet that had entered its airspace. Now, Michael, we have no way of independently verifying that, but this isn't the first time U.S. and Iranian forces have exchanged fire during this ceasefire. The last time was just a few weeks ago. Michael.
And Imtiaz, the president is now linking a possible peace deal with Iran to the Abraham Accords, which would require Middle East countries to normalize relations with Israel. Could that demand complicate a peace deal?
That's a very good question. Look, I think a lot of eyebrows were raised across those Muslim majority and Arab-speaking countries. We're already hearing from some of those countries, Pakistan, which doesn't recognize Israel, saying we're not going to be joining that. Other countries have been silent. But it's a pretty curious demand by the president who, quote, mandatorily requested these countries to do it. 6 of those countries include Egypt and Jordan, which already have peace treaties with Israel. Now, the other countries, which include Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and, of course, Pakistan, again, have very complicated relationships with Israel, most notably Qatar, which Israel considers an enemy state. So it's not like clear that Israel would want to have deals with them. Whatever the case, it really just underscores the fact that for President Trump anyways, the Abraham Accords, which were first signed back in his first term, was really the crown jewel, the crowning achievement of his last term in office. He really wants to see other countries to join, Saudi Arabia especially. That, of course, is the country which is the home of Mecca, where pilgrims are right now for the Hajj pilgrimage. If Saudi Arabia were to join, it really would be the shining jewel in that crown. But again, lots of those countries being quiet about whether or not they will join those accords. Michael.
All right, Imtiaz Tyab, thank you.